Hello everyone and welcome to this lesson. In this lesson we're going to talk about functions. So, what is a function? Just to make it like, in the simple way, a function is just a whole bunch of code that you just put it somewhere and then you just can reuse it anytime you want. But the more cool things about a function is that you can use it at anytime you want, anywhere you want. That's that's the key right here. Okay, so why? Wait a minute, I have this useful. All right, so why are they very useful? Just because you can just write a whole bunch of code and then reuse it, and you don't have to repeat the code. You don't have to do like a copy and paste and then use the code over and over again. All right, so the basic anatomy of a function. So a function is basically just what we call a function. That's how you declare a function. And then here inside the body function, you can just go any code that you want to execute. So let's write the first function. I just gonna have a code here. I will add it. I will make it just a space. Let me increase the size. And this function, it is called our first function. And then I'm just declare the function here. If I click enter, I just define a function. Now, if you take a look at it, this is the same way that we declare a variable, an array, an object, and everything else, right? So this is the way that we declare a function. Here, we just put the function name. Now we need to call the function if you want to use the function. For example, if I just have this like this and I press enter, I will get the hello world. Because my function has this code inside, which is a console.log, this is what I'm getting right now. Just what is inside my function. Another thing is that you can pass argument to your function. This is also good because when you write a function, you can prepare the function to execute any code and then you can just change the value. Okay? It's not like that you only need to add something and make it print or display something specific. You can also add some value, which is called also arguments, and then the function can just change the value inside. For example, here, instead of hello world, I can say hello world and put your name on it. All right. So let's see how that works. For example, you know what? I'm going to use the same function that I have before doing this example here. It's a little bit more easy. And I will convert this function to have something that is called name, right? Which is an argument. And then here, I will go and I will say hello plus any argument that I'm passing. Remember, you might have to add some space here. In that way, you will definitely not having both together. Now, if I press enter and I try to call my function and I pass a name here, which is just gonna pass my name, and then I click enter, there you go. So it's a hello world Arial. So, and again, the good thing is that an argument allows you to prepare the code inside a function to be more flexible to work with, okay? Because it's a function, we just return something specific, which is, you can do that. That is not a problem if you want to do something like that. It's like not a problem at all. But when you have an argument, it's much better, so you can be more flexible when you're using the function. So now let me just clear this thing and let me just copy and paste this code. And of course, let me just have a little bit clean. There you go. So now it's a little bit more organized. So here have a code, not a code, I'm sorry, a function that I don't know if you guys remember, but in the first lesson in JavaScript, by the way, we did this loop right here. We did work with this loop. In fact, we declared this variable and we make it, I don't know what number, but I think it was 10. So now we're doing the same thing, but this time we are going to pass any value we want. For example, I can say, draw this cat 20 times. There you go. So it's doing it 20 times. And I can do the same thing with 5 times instead of 20. Right? So what's going on here? What's going on here is this number, the number that I'm passing here, which is this 20, is coming here. So now it's 20, and now this 20 becomes the how many times. And if you learn about loops in the last lesson, we are saying here, well, run this loop to I is less than how many times, in this case, which is 20. Okay? And that's how we get in this number or argument to work inside the function. Let me just go ahead and clear that. You can also pass as many values as you want. Doesn't matter if you want to do that, that's also fine. There's no, hold on, just give me 1 second. There you go. Right? So we can pass as many values as we want. In this case, we have 2 values, which is each argument, and it is separated by a comma. So you pass argument 1, and then you pass the second one, and then if you want another one, you can just write another comma, and then you can pass 3 arguments. Now I'm just gonna go ahead and pass 2 arguments in my function. Let me just clean this. Let me make it a little bit. There you go. So now this is my function, okay? And how many times and what to draw. So if I have a function to do anything that I want, for example, whatever is here, it's gonna run for how many times. So I need to pass 2 arguments, which is a number, and whatever I want this to do, which is gonna be a string, you can do that, which is, by the way, I don't know if you realize, is the same thing that we did here, but now instead of just adding this inside this function, now we can just pass whatever we want and add it in here. So that's the good thing when you use argument in the function instead of just, just doing this all the time. So let me just go back. And I'm gonna go ahead. And as you can see, once I open the bracket here, I am getting, it's telling me how, the argument's name. This is happening because in case you don't see, you can see the function, you don't need to go back to. So if you're using the console, you can definitely see what you can pass. If I say 5, and then I put comma, and then, oh, by the way, parenthesis, not curly brackets. I think I say brackets, but then I just pass another argument, and here I'm just going to pass this face, and there you go. So now anything that I pass here, it will be my it will be like the final value in the what to draw right here, instead of the same way that we have here being the same all the time. So let's move on. Returning values. If you want to return value, so far as you can see, we have the console dialog. So we are getting something that is just print there. We can do anything with this because we are always saying, hey, display this value. That's all we're saying right now. Here, if I want to keep my value and then use it somewhere, I can definitely do that. So right now I have a double, which is my function name. And then here I can pass the value 2, and then 2 times 2 is 4. Instead of just console the value, now it just return the value. Yeah, pretty much. If you want to write off, let me just clear this because I need more space. If you want to create a function and you don't want to cut off the function at any time you want, like for example, you have a function and then you have a whole bunch of code, and according to this function and the argument that you are passing, you can tell it like, okay, if you get to this point right now, by the way, if you notice right here, this is saying, okay, just return the gold because I'm not passing any value. So right now my function is assuming that like this is 0, and 0, well, not 0, but it's empty. And empty means that because doesn't fill out this and doesn't fill out this one, it means that to come here. Okay, I'm just want to point that out just before typing something here. So if I type the 2, which is less than 3, I will get the first one. And remember, when we learn about if statements, we say that if statement is like a waterfall thing, because if this is true, the first one is true, and then you just return, and that's it. You out of the loop. You out of the if statements. So you don't need to go through everything else because the first one is true. So you write, it's like you're ready to go. If I have 5, I will get then the other one. So if I click enter, then I will get my value. Okay. And again, the value is not console there. It's just return my value, so I can use it. I can use it anywhere I want. Let's see on function. Also, when we work with functions, for example, another thing is that when you if you write a code to calculate something, and let's say a calculator, you create one and you write a function to to add 2 numbers. What happened here? All right, to add, oh, I put lowercase t, 2 numbers. Okay, function, and here I will say just 1 and 2. And here I can say the keyword return and then say 1 plus 2. Okay, so now I have this function here that is adding 2 numbers. If it's adding 2 numbers, I just pass 2 and 2, and then I have 4. And then you can have another function that does like add 3 numbers, or you can also have another function that subtract like any other number or multiply any other number. In that way, once you have that, assume that when people are getting the when you're getting input from the user, right, and the user type the keyword, type this, or maybe the plus sign, or maybe this minus sign, depends on that, you can tell, well, if something like this. Of course this code is not going to work, but let me just write it down really quick. And for example, if you are saying that user input is equal to, let's say this, Then you want to, let me put the plus because I'm gonna call this function right here. Then you want to add two numbers. And then maybe you can just, if of course, if you add something to get the input, and then you put that input inside your variable, then you just can say first number, second number. Okay, so there you go. And then you can do the same thing over and over, a whole bunch of stuff, and then according to the, according to the user input and the program that you're trying to write, then you will definitely call any function that you want, and you don't have to come here and write the code every time. Like for example, well, if you will not have the function, for example, you will have something like this. Let's say you will say something like this, and then you will say something like bar add number is equal to this. See that? If you will not use a function or something like that, like this, then you might have to like write down everything, and then you do it, instead of that, it return the value, and then you have those two numbers. Again, up to you when you use the function, but it is very useful. It allows you to reuse the code over and over and over and again. If you create one function to do something, just create another one to do something else. Do not create a function to return two things at the same time, or to assume that you're gonna get a value that means many things. So if you have a function to add number, just allow this function to add numbers. If you have a function to multiply numbers, just let that function to multiply the number. Do not try to create a function that say bar add and multiply numbers. You see that? So don't try to do something like that. It is much better if you only try to make it do only one. And it is not illegal, by the way, to do add and multiply a function at the same time. It is not wrong. It will definitely tell you, I'm gonna get an error, of course I know, but you can just say add, of course, and like multiply, right? Something like that. And two numbers, let's say. I don't want to make the function too big, but you can do that. And then here, I don't know, make this function to do this, and then just say like 3, and then have like this thing like this, So you don't want to do something like that. You just can just make something that do the to add, and then just after you get the value, get that value, put it inside the function, and send it back and to do the multiplication like this. Okay, learn how to do that, because if you are taking this course in college, I will definitely add that in the exam. Okay, just making sure. All right, and that's all for this lesson. And again, I'm gonna repeat. Well, you can just put the video a little bit back, but I'm gonna repeat it once again. Just make sure that you do not return or do not make your function to do two things at the same time. And again, it is not illegal to do this. It's just bad practice. Okay, you do not want to your function to do two things at the same time. All right. And again, up to the developer, of course, to do whatever they want. But in my case, I believe it's much better just to let the function to do one thing. All right. And that's all for this lesson. I might see you in the next one.